Tendai Mwari, Tendai Mwari, Tendai Mwari. Garvey lives, Garvey lives, Garvey lives. Messiah lives, Messiah lives, Messiah lives. Tendai Mwari, greetings and welcome, sisters and brothers. Greetings in the most precious, powerful, and bountiful name of our motherland, Alkebu-Lan, in the spirits of our most gracious ancestors, and in a prayer for hope, oneness, and prosperity for all African people on the face of Mother Earth. Tendai Mwari. Sisters and brothers, we thank you for joining us this evening for our Messiah session hosted by the Alkebu-Lan Revivalist Movement. My name is Brother Olatunji Huru, and I'm opening the session this evening. Messiah is an observant 31 days honoring the life and legacy of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Messiah Garvey, the greatest organizer in our liberation history. This month we call Messiah. We rename the 8th month of the year Messiah in honor of our prophet and king, because we are children of Messiah. We are Garvey's children. We're not children of Augustus Caesar, and people who are self-determining, organize and name according to their own circumstances and time and space. So said, so done. And so it's been since the year of 1998. The Alkebu-Lan Revivalist Movement has led the community, primarily in Africa, UK, to celebrate Messiah, 31 days of observance. So we had a wonderful opening ceremony 2 days ago, sisters and brothers, the 7th of Messiah. And you too can watch the ceremony itself on our YouTube channel, Alkebu-Lan Way, right here after our session this evening has finished. We're going to welcome you. We've got a very illustrious panel of speakers this evening dealing with back to Africa, repatriation as a revolutionary act. Because what we do in Messiah is have sessions that deal with different aspects of the vast legacy, the rich legacy of the Garvey movement, sisters and brothers, and certainly repatriation is most definitely one of those sisters and brothers. So we give thanks and praises for that. Just a few formalities to go through before we get into our session this evening, sisters and brothers. The word sounds Tendai Mwari, in case you're not aware, just simply means be thankful unto the Creator in the Shona language of Zimbabwe, sisters and brothers. So we give thanks and praises, Tendai Mwari, for that. A number of things we do as a standard in the Messiah season, but let me just let you know, sisters and brothers, we have a number of events going on during the Messiah season. Every Kujagulia Day, Babylon Monday, we have Africa Speaks with Alkebu-Lan on Galaxy Radio. That's galaxyfui.net. Every Monday, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. in the UK, GMT, BST, what have you. And we implore you to join us, sisters and brothers, every Kujagulia Day, sisters and brothers, for that. And we have this session this evening. We have our Messiah Day observance on the 17th this month, sisters and brothers. So we encourage you to join for those events when you can. For more details, go to our website, alkebulan.org. Alkebulan.org. I'm sure you'll see the link in the description, sisters and brothers. Now, what we did in 1998 to accompany the Messiah season was develop a book called the Messiah Daily Affirmations. So every day there's an affirmation, the word sound of the prophet, Marcus Messiah Garvey, to guide us on that day. And each affirmation has a commentary from the spiritual leader of the Alkebu-Lan Revivalist Movement, Brother Leader Bandaka. You're going to hear from later on this evening, sisters and brothers. It's a vision of Brother Leader Bandaka that gave us the Messiah season. And his work went into editing the Messiah Daily Affirmations. So every day we read an affirmation and we also recite the commentary. But because Messiah is a family occasion, sisters and brothers, we ensure that our watotos, our children, are involved, and there's a memory verse for the children as well. So without further ado, I'm going to go into the affirmation for today. Today is day 9 of Messiah, and I'm going to go into the affirmation of today, And the affirmation for today, sisters and brothers, is sterling character. So heed the word sounds of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mathai Garvey, as he says, the greatest human possession is character. The man and woman of sterling character is a great builder. Not only a builder of themselves, they build around themselves. They build their community. They help to build a world. They can afford to lose their wealth and health because with their character, they can recover them. With sterling character, you can destroy a world and rebuild it. You can go down to the depths and then rise to the heights. You can meet adversity and laugh at it back on the way to prosperity. Those of sterling worth, with the urge of honesty, self-confidence, of nobility, sees no defeat, admits no handicap, nor barriers they must climb to the surface. Such is the wisdom of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mathai Garvey. Say, hail to the proud word, hail to the proud word, hail to the proud word, sisters and brothers. And to accompany the word sound of our prophet, we have the commentary by our spiritual leader, Brother Leader Bandaka, sisters and brothers. And Brother Leader says, in contextualizing the affirmation of sterling character, how do I attain sterling character? We learn by examples and lessons put before us. We have legions of examples of sterling characters who have championed great historical events. Ya Santewa, Omwale Malcolm X, Nat Turner, Harriet Tubman, Dessalines, Mbuna Handa, and of course, the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mathai Garvey. Study them all through their words, their deeds, their sojourns, their triumph, and their trials. Absorb their spirits. Say with conviction, I am Marcus Garvey, I am Yasantua, etc. Look around you for their creed in present times. Then strive to manifest this creed in the application of your own talents and gifts. And then, there goes the sterling character. Sisters and brothers, Tendamrai, give thanks and praises and hail the word sounds of Brother Leader Bandaka. Say, hail to the proud word, hail to the proud word, hail to the power of the word. And like I said, sisters and brothers, what we do in Mazai, it's a family event, a family occasion. So we want to bring forward our young prince, Elijah, to give us the memory verse for today. So along with the affirmation, sisters and brothers, for every day is a memory verse for our watotos, our children, to recite every day. So Prince Elijah is going to come through and recite the memory verse for today. Tendamari, Prince Elijah.
Tendamari.
Tendamari. Garvey lives.
Garvey lives.
Mazai lives.
Mazai lives.
Prince Elijah, take it away.
Tendamari.
Tendamari.
Put your race first, like all other races do. Put your race first, like all other races do. Put your race first, like all other races do. Tendamari.
Tendamari, give thanks. Let's say all Prince Elijah and brother. Give thanks, Prince Elijah. This is what we do, sisters and brothers. We ensure our children are on this road with us. And those serious word sounds there, the affirmation for today, sisters and brothers. Like I said, we are dealing with a very serious subject, even sisters and brothers. And I'm going to hand over now to our esteemed and able host. Most appropriately, sisters and brothers, because this is about building legacy, and certainly Brother Tafadha Shakara Bandaka is certainly part of the legacy of the children of the Alkebu-Lan Bible movement now into an adult. So he's going to take you forward, sisters and brothers. He's going to introduce the panelists. He's going to introduce the guests. I'm going to take forward in a reasoning. We want to see you, sisters and brothers, engage in the chat. Post questions, post queries, engage with what's being said. We want to hear from you, sisters and brothers. This is as Empress Kahina Tendira said, this is going to be a versation for the family, an important versation. Those of us here in the UK know what's coming up. Things aren't going to be easy for African sisters and brothers, so this is a very timely and necessary reasoning We want you to engage fully, sister and brother. So without further ado, sister and brothers, I'm going to hand over to our young lion, our young king, Brother Shakara. Tender my Shakara.
Tendam Wari, Uncle Tunji. Greetings, brothers and sisters. Garvey lives. Messiah lives.
Messiah lives.
It's a pleasure to be with you once again, kings and queens. And we're going to have a very, very important conversation today. A timely one also, yeah, in the month of Messiah. Because we may be aware, especially in social media spaces, that interest in repatriation and traveling to the continent of Mama Africa is on the uptake. And many brothers and sisters are engaged in that activity at the minute. But one thing I've noticed over the last few years is that the revolutionary Pan-African voice, the black nationalist voice, the Garveyite voice, yeah, is not loud enough in the conversations and profiled in a lot of the social media activity. And so we have to be very, very careful, kings and queens, because there is such a phenomena, yes, in today's world, yeah, that we refer to as the neocolonization of Pan-Africanism, kings and queens. That we're engaging in Pan-Africanism, yeah, under the umbrella or forwarding neocolonial agendas, wittingly or unwittingly. And so, whereas we have been talking about the return to Mama Africa spiritually, physically, and mentally for generations now, when we see that agenda taking place, we need to make sure that the Garveyite voice, yes, that in many ways facilitated a grand edition of that call, knowing that the Garvey movement was not the initiator of the call. The call began the day the first African was stolen from Mama Africa. But through the Garvey movement, we saw a great example of not just the return, but how to organize for the return and for what purpose we should be returning. And so we have an illustrious panel today, Kings and Queens, of African organizers, African activists, African political scientists who are not only in the business of repatriation, but African liberation, kings and queens. And so we're going to be bringing forth an analysis of the repatriation program from that perspective. We're going to be critiquing some of what is being referred to as repatriation right about now. And most importantly, we're going to be crystallizing what we as Garveyites, as black nationalists, Pan-Africanists, need to be doing in relation to organizing around the issues of reparations. I'm going to bring through our guests, and I'm going to say, without any cheek whatsoever, in order of seniority. Yes, and I'm sure my brothers and sisters will not mind that at all. You know what I mean? Because I know the ages of everybody when we are ring through tonight, kings and queens. All right, bro, Uncle Olatunji, you're free. You're free to say
right. No problem. I'm gonna step back.
No problem. All right. Okay. So first and foremost, yeah, in order of seniority, from the most senior to the most junior, I'm gonna begin with an elder brother to myself, who I first became aware of in my teens, kings and queens. And me personally, the way on me steer, yeah, the people that I respect most in life, you know, the people that I respect most in life are people that have a track record on Liberation Road. And so when I see a brother who I became aware of as an activist, firstly in the nation of Norway, in Europe, and now is living in the nation of Azania, South Africa, still on the road, still organizing. And not only that, but finding new ways to organize and strategize and help us to face the challenges of the now. I am inspired by such a man. Yeah, I'm in love with such a man. And so in that spirit, we're going to bring forward an organizer of Booker City Solutions, yeah, over there in Azania, South Africa, the man who convened the Shabaka men's group, kings and queens, and has in fact been able to link me with some brothers and sisters in Azania, South Africa, which I'm eternally grateful for. We're going to say greetings and welcome, Tendam Wadi, to Baba Buntu. How you doing, Baba Buntu? You're on mute, by the way.
Tendai Mwari, greetings, Harambe, blessings,
Harambe.
Sanbunani. We
And
are
all these things.
I'm so humbled. I
Yes.
was, who is he introducing now? And then I realized it's me. No, thank you
Yes,
so
brother.
much for opening up this channel. And
Yes.
love and greetings from the nation of Black Azania.
Aye.
A very troubled nation, but we are here. And we
Yeah.
are going forward, and we are not apologetic. So
All right.
thank you
Give
so
thanks,
much.
Baba Buntu.
Garvey lives.
Garvey lives. It's a pleasure to have you here, and no doubt,
Sure.
it's going to be a purposeful conversation. All right. Next, in terms of the seniority, and I believe I'm correct in my assumptions here. We're going to go to Sierra Leone, kings and queens. Yeah, we're going to go to Sierra Leone. Yeah, and we're going to meet a brother and a sister. In fact, a brother and a sister who are married. Yeah, we're going to get a family perspective on the repatriation journey as well, coming from Africans who are organizing in the nation of Sierra Leone. Very important because of this, the unique history of Sierra Leone as it relates to African people and Pan-Africanism in particular. And one of those nations that is not often on the bucket list, yes, of nations that people popularly travel to, but our brother and our sister are there. They are members of the UNIA-ACL. They are founders of the Black Star Action Network, outer national, within which I am also assisting to organize as well, kings and queens. They are founders of the Gullah Leone Redemption Mission, and if you notice the word Gullah, these are the people of the Gullah or the Geechee Nation, hailing from the what is referred to as the United States of America. They are doing brilliant work in the nation of Mama Salon, and so we're gonna bring through Chief Foday and Sister Kenya Mansaray. Greetings and welcome, my brother and my sister.
Greetings.
All
Yeah,
right.
man. Baba Buntu, great to see you, brother. Thanks again, Shaka Rao, man. You really know how to introduce somebody, don't you, bro?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know, we say we must give our people their flowers when they're alive, you know. And as I said, I respect Africans who are organizing. So no amount of blessings, no amount of showering of commendations could be too much. But we know that we don't take it lightly. We don't share the blessings and the commendations to get big head and big chest, but as an affirmation of the work that we're doing. So you're doing the work, you deserve the praise. And so we're glad to give it. We're glad to give it. And last but by no means least, I'm going to go to my sister over there in the United States of America. Yeah. And you know, you're wondering, I thought you said you're going to have repatriates, kings and queens. Well, our sister is one of the founding members of an organization called We Charge Colonialism, a very powerful organization. And I speak in no hyperbole when I say she is one of my favorite organizers in today's Pan-African world, because I love the way she thinks. I love her dedication. You know, I was born and raised in the movement. And when I see someone who's committed to African liberation, I know it. I can feel it. Yeah. And with this sister, I know it. I can feel it. She's about that life. Yeah. But the reason why specifically she is joining us for this panel is because the We Charge Colonialism organization saw fit, to release a repatriation platform, but not just any repatriation platform, a revolutionary repatriation platform. And so it's important that we put out those mission statements. If Africans want to know how to repatriate in a revolutionary manner, we need to be able to teach how to do that. And so our sister, who I know, although she has not yet repatriated, has visited the continent and is planning to repatriate. She has said this publicly, so I'm not talking her business out of turn. All right, kings and queens. But because of the work that she is doing and the work that the organization has released in terms of repatriation, it is necessary to have that perspective from somebody who is planning the journey, but planning the journey with a revolutionary mindset. And with that, I introduce you to the African Esquire, Sister Tierney Sheree Peprah.
Thank you so much. It's very humbling to hear this long intro, but thank you so much. I appreciate everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to discuss this today. So let's go.
No problems, my sister. The floor is well deserved in terms of your presence, so we give thanks. And I'm also gonna just say in our promotion, we advertised that our brother Makonen Sankofa, who is from the UK but repatriated to Gambia, is supposed to be with us. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to be with us. All right. And so we're going to miss that Gambia stroke UK voice, but that's no problem. I'm sure that our brothers and sisters here are more than capable of taking up the mantle. I think a good place to begin, family. Oh, and by the way, kings and queens, I should say housekeeping. Do share the link far and wide. Yeah, why you share this link far and wide? This is not a conversation that I'm seeing happening enough in Pan-African circles. Yeah, and so share it with your organization. Yeah, your coalition. Yeah, your campaign, your family, your friends. Share the link far and wide. Utilize the chat. Yeah, utilize the chat. We're going to be taking your questions in the chat, and later on, a little bit later on, we're gonna dare to share the link out and invite some of you on to ask some questions, and we'll notify you of the protocols when we do so. So I'm gonna start by just asking each of you, yeah, if you have repatriated, when did you repatriate? What was like? Just give us an idea of how long you've been on the continent. And for yourself, Sister Tierney, do you have a time frame for repatriation, and what is informing that whatever time frame that you have allotted for yourself? Let's start with our elder brother, the man who has the most gray hair. I'm assuming is the elder brother right here, Kings and Queens. Baba Buntu, go ahead.
Thank you so much. And greetings again to the sisters and brothers on the platform, and also everyone is tuning into this conversation. Thank you for hosting it. I'm of African Caribbean descent. My family is from Anguilla in the Eastern Caribbean. But I lived for quite a big chunk of my life in Scandinavia, Norway, Western Europe. And I traveled to, my first encounter with the African continent was Tanzania and Kenya in 1990. And because I didn't really get the links that I was hoping for, I then came back to the continent in 1993 for 6 months. I was doing my studies in Europe, and I insisted to the school that they needed to give me an African supervisor there, and they couldn't provide one. So I said, then I'm going to have to make my own program. And that's how I ended up in Johannesburg, South Africa, working with South African Black Social Workers Association in 1993. And to just wrap it shortly, I then went back I felt that me having grown up outside of Africa needed to also be of service to someone outside of me. And I started a movement that I'm not going to talk so much about now, but it was called African Youth in Norway. And I did that for 5 years. And that was my release from Europe. Like when I've done that, I was just on the plane going back to the continent, and it happened to be Azania. I hope to get a chance to unpack why a little bit later, but that was my journey. So I settled fully in 2000. In 2000,
so that's 22 years, yeah.
That's I want to know what that.
So we have experience.
A 30-year journey.
Yeah, it's of a 30-year journey. So we've got experience. Now let it not be said, yeah, that Pan-Africanists are not repatriating. This is one of them popularly made myths that are out there. And maybe it's true to say that we're not repatriating in the numbers that we should be. All right, that might be real. However, it's not true to say that Pan-Africanists don't go to Africa. All right, let's make that clear. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Chief Foday and Sister Kenya for the answer to the same question.
All right. We'll go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. My name is Kenya Malinke Mansaray, and I'm currently located in Freetown, Sierra Leone, West Africa. I started my journey in Africa, as you guys may know, most of you, from a child. I dreamt to come here, but I actually started working internationally with organizations, particularly Basani, in 2012, and I made my repatriation in 2015. So I've been here, it will be 7 years in December 3rd.
Okay.
Right, so I'm Chief Foday, General Mansaray. I've been here since 2013. In about 5 months, it'll be my 10 year. But I was and still do a lot of Pan-African work where I'm from. I'm from the United States of America. I have Gullah Geechee roots and connection to Sierra Leone, genetic connection to various places in Africa. I'm into the DNA and knowing where I come from and reconnecting with those roots and having those connections. So it's not just a wild claim. I'm African because I have this complexion. No. When I check my father's genetics and my mother's genetics and my genetics, we come back to a place in people, and it's multiple. It's not just one.
Right.
And so I stand strongly on the issue of repatriation and that right to return. I started working with Sierra Leonean Pan-Africanists in 2007 from Pennsylvania. I supported them for 6 years. The intimacy of the relationship got so intense that I felt like I needed to be here more than there. And me being younger at the time, I was like, man, what do I have to lose? I came over here after doing a campaign with them brothers here, sisters here, and I fell in love with it when I got here, right off rip. And particularly doing the work at the Grassroots, it was so much needed. It was such a drought of people having genuine concern in terms of Pan-Africanism here. So I decided to make a home. As you know, 2 years later, my wife came over with me and we can get it in. So I've been here 9.5 years.
9.5 years. All right. And you know what I mean? When you're repatriating, like, you have to bring your wife, you know. It's very, very, very important. You know what I'm saying? So we give thanks, to the family vibration, Nessa. Tierney, Sheree, yeah. Now you stated publicly that you're on the road. Just explain the logic behind your decision and if you have a time frame and what is informing your time frame.
Yes. So I think I've always known I wanted to visit Africa since I've come into the liberation movement, since I've come into Pan-Africanism. I've always known I wanted to visit it. So happened that the man I married is Ghanaian, which kind of is a good opportunity, if you want to go to the continent, marry someone directly.
That's what you call good decision making. You know what I'm saying? very strategic.
Yeah, but the thing about it is funny is that he wasn't necessarily like as politically radical as I was starting off, but I think we influenced each other, and that's something that I made him want to take serious. And so at one point it was more like a maybe when we retire type thing, because of the mentality that when you're in America and you get that stable income and everything like that, you would never want to jeopardize that. So that was the initial mentality. But over time, we just, kind of felt the urgency. I think it's a bunch of factors that led to that. A lot of the external factors, things that are going on in the world. I think also like how American society is rapidly changing inside of this era is also a big motivating factor. But the biggest one is that we're being motivated as far as like when we'll go when Yah releases us. Like that's really where our focus is. And so we don't really have, who knows, it could be next month, it could be next year, it could be 5 years. We're really just waiting for that release. And whenever we do feel that release, that's when we'll actually make that move.
All right, give thanks. And I do like that story again. There's another husband and wife story there, and the African woman is very influential, kings and queens, especially when you marry one. You know what I'm saying? So we give thanks for inspiration in positive directions like radical Pan-Africanism. We appreciate that, kings and queens. You know what I mean? All right, so a good place to start, I would suggest, would be this whole uptake, yeah, especially in the social media space, in terms of Africans traveling to Africa, taking pictures on the beach and posting it on social media, doing their vlogs, on YouTube and so on and so forth. It appears, right, that interest in the continent, either in terms of visiting, holiday, or returning, has risen exponentially within the last 5 years. Yeah. And so I'd like for each of you to give an assessment of how that looks to you, yeah, from a Pan-African perspective, yeah, and the extent to which this uptake and this interest, yeah, in traveling to and repatriating to Africa feeds into or supports us, helps to sustain a Pan-African purpose. I'll open it to anybody who wants to go first. Go ahead, Baba.
Thank you so much. I think from me as a person, I've never believed in the concept of holiday. Everywhere I go, I work. Everywhere I go, I study. If I'm invited to a conference in a country, especially in a country I haven't been to before, the first thing I do is to find out how do I get in touch with African young people and to understand what they do there, what kind of organizations, and I make my own program in addition to whatever I was invited for. And so I think that's one strand for me. And secondly, the message of Garvey just sits so strongly with me. And I was just checking a line from him today where he said, if you must be free, you must become so through your own effort. And he said, you must strike the blow. And I like strike the blow because it's not just traveling or crossing borders and having a passport. It's deeper than that. And one thing that I have noticed for many years is that I thought, because I really took my step on my own. I wasn't part of a group of people who, well, I was a part of many groups who spoke about it, but when it came down to action, I was quite alone I was on my own. And I thought, I just need to make the move, and then people will be flooding me with messages like, how do you do it? How can we do it? What can you advise? How do we? And it was quiet. Even when I came visiting in the Caribbean or in Europe, people say, oh, so you are still in South Africa? What do you mean I'm still in South Africa? I moved to South Africa. Yeah, but okay, so what's going on down there? No, this and that. Yes. No question. What's the process? Was it difficult? Do you speak the language? There was no questions. I found myself always having to kind of bring the practical issue up. And I found that for a long time, many of us have kind of had this romantic talk about moving back to Africa. And I would say, I have noticed what you say as well. There's this travel noir blogs now. There's people traveling. There's people Instagramming from Africa and picking up certain things. And, you know, coming from where we come from in our history, I don't want to put anyone down for traveling to Africa, whatever the reason may be, as a Black person, as an African person. But I also see that maybe there's fewer of us who really move for revolutionary reasons because we believe that we need to set up the center of power right here. And it's not just a place to be based or just a place to see the world from, but it's hard work. So the way I sleep, the way I eat, the way I walk, the way I do every single thing 24/7 is informed by a Pan-African devotion to the freedom of our people. And that's why I'm here. And I just hope that this new forms of traveling that you mentioned leads to more of that. I haven't been directly in touch with many people who do that. I guess people seek us out more intentionally because they want something more closer to what we do. So we're not really a holiday destination, you know, but I appreciate that people come to the continent, but I wish for us to really do it for a particular liberating purpose. Thank you so much.
All right, give thanks, Baba Buntu. Anybody can go next. What is your impression of the utility or nature of the upsurge in interest in repatriation and traveling to Mama Africa?
I can go. I think it's kind of a two-edged sword because I know at one point just the idea of calling myself African, that on itself would have been revolutionary to me because growing up, you know, you just do everything you can not to associate yourself with Africa. You have a negative connotation of what it means to be African. You know, you wouldn't vacation in Africa. Why would I do that? And so I remember like starting to see the interest grow more and more in Africa. I'll say so-called African Americans for our people as being such a positive thing because, you know, just going from, you know, saying derogatory things like African booty scratcher or whatever to like, oh no, I want to join in this culture. I want to become a part of my history. I want to know, like, I want to connect to my ancestors, you know, that is a significant shift. And so I don't think it should be minimized. I think it's definitely a move in the right direction. But the issue that we should take, I think, is that these things, capitalism and colonialism, white supremacy has a way of perverting even the most sincere you know, thing that you might manifest. So we might start in a sincere place of I actually do want to connect with my African roots. I actually do want to know who I am. I actually do want to go back to this continent where all of us originate from. But looking to make a dollar out of it. That's something that tends to creep in, I think, a lot of the times, and understandably, because all of us are under a capitalist system in some way or another. Even those of us who might try to do communal things, a lot of times you're going to have to interact with the capitalist system. And so a lot of us are put in this position where we're looking for business opportunities from our repatriation. And obviously, it's not the business opportunities in itself, but it's the exploitative nature. Africa's for sale. That's the thing I keep hearing from a lot of the travel blogs. You see people go and they're like, oh, look, Africa's doing well. You thought Africa was just this undeveloped place with people who are starving. No, we have skyscrapers. No, we have development. And they're so focused on, again, the capitalist understanding of development, which is not necessarily feeding the people, not necessarily sharing the resources, not necessarily allowing communal arrangements, but just seeing a skyscraper or seeing a pretty housing development. That's what a lot of people are advertising as Africa moving forward. And so, I think understanding that it's better than where we started from, but at the same time, we do have to be very ardent in checking, those mentalities and calling them out, because the last thing that we want is to free ourselves from a colonial oppressor that is white, and just have a Black one move right in to be the face of colonialism, which is what neocolonialism is. We've experienced it for a long time by now. So those are some of the shortcomings, I would say, of modern, Africa.
Give thanks for that, Tierney. I'm gonna go to Chief Foday and Sister Kenya for a sec here, and just change the question slightly. And I want, because there's a saying that nature abhors a vacuum, and so is a lot of what we're seeing, guided rightly or misguided to whatever extent, the result of the fact that we as Pan-Africanists maybe have not wrestled the reins in terms of what repatriation should look like for a generation. Is some of that critique down to us and the work that we have or have not done, understandably or not, for a generation? And what do you make of the repatriation agenda within the movement now, not just among the people in general, but within the movement? What's your assessment of that?
Right. Well, I think that historically, as me and you have spoken before, repatriation is not new. We're talking 235 years at least back to where the first group of Africans were brought back by the British to this place, Freetown, Sierra Leone. And then a second group came in 5 years later from Nova Scotia, Canada, all of them mainly coming from the United States, plantations. And that being literally the birth of a movement, because since that happened, that thought had never went away. And then we seen our enemies use it at time. We seen those who were slave traders come together and use the Congress to create a whole colonial entity and create Liberia with it, just to get rid of the free Blacks who they felt was going to compete with their poor whites. And they didn't understand how they was going to be able to reconcile those class contradictions and those race contradictions inside of that society at that time, because there was no stopping the elevation of that element of us that was ready to go to the top.
Yes, sir. And
it's happening everywhere. There's no stopping those of us who are in Europe right now who are ready to rise to the top. There's no stopping us.
Yes, sir.
It's just that we don't have any infrastructure to guide us in that direction, and it usually ends up them being the King Cooper that we have to defeat, and then we get to another level, and then this is a whole other Cooper.
Right.
In terms of the Mario Brothers game, you understand? So it seems like at times it could be redundant, but what I think is that we have to reconceptualize this and put it back into its proper historical context.
Right.
Repatriation is something that occurs. Like when you go, like you can repatriate your money by sending your money from one place to another. You can repatriate my body if I pass away here, so I can be buried where I was born. So repatriation is a broad term. I know that the Garveyites back in the day used to use expatriation. And because expatriation means to go somewhere other than where you're born to work. primarily. And that's what he viewed the Garveyites' assignment to be. We should be here working. We shouldn't be here with our toes up, twinkling our feet, and we shouldn't. That shouldn't be us. We should be assisting others with repatriation, investment, education. We should be empowering the people where we are, as well as lending our opportunities to those who are coming behind us, primarily.
Yes.
And so I think that everyone's not on the same mission. I've been here, like I said, 9.5 years, man. When I first came to Sierra Leone, everybody thought they were still fighting war here. And it had been 11 years since the war. Just to let you know how out of sync people are with certain countries and certain situations in Africa. Till this day, people will say, "Oh man, they still fighting war over there." I'm like, "What?" 25. And then it just discourages you from trying to help the person because they need a whole re-education before you ready to welcome them here.
Yes.
You understand? So I think that what I want to say also about what you asked the brother and the sister, right? Before I pass it to Kenya is this. In the last 5 years, as someone who has a political view of this thing, it's not just random. I see the rise of curiosity. I wouldn't say it's interest.
Right.
People are more curious. People are asking more questions about Africa, and they might not like it. They might not comment, but they're watching. They're paying. The attention is different now. And so once it becomes popular, people start using it as a fad, as a fad. You know, and once they begin to use it as a fad, those of us who are really involved is like, oh man, they done diluted the water. Oh man, they done polluted the water. What's going on? and I think that what happens is that in war, no side dictates the battle. Both sides dictate the battle. And when you look at what our enemy is doing, you look back to Donald Trump's era, and you realize what happened to the psyche of African people in those 4 years, especially in the United States of America, where everybody started looking for a way out. And then COVID hit next. And so there's something really happening in the world that will cause our people to panic.
Right. Okay.
And so even while me and my wife came here to serve, to keep it real, what about getting money? We humble, we live all right, we cool. We ain't never buy no land. We ain't sold nobody's land. We ain't asked nobody to come get nobody's land. We farm with the people. We share the land with them.
We're going to come back to that. We're going to come back to that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So it's a different thing, but I want to say that the Hollywood mind control and the political manipulation through the media propaganda has played a big role on people believing that they have an interest that is only a curiosity. Right. Because I'm encountering it constantly. And it got so bad that I said, myself, Brother RJ Mardi, Sister Yah down in Ghana, we had a conversation. We said, man, look, is it only happening to me? Is it 100 people contacting you a day? And there were so many people contacting us individually that we said, yo, we need to come together and form an alliance to control this. And we formed what we call the Exodus Alliance, which I think is more of a title to define repatriation as, because it's more of a movement. It's more of it even has a spiritual sense to it. I'm not promoting Christianity, but when you think about the word Exodus, you're correct. You're very correct, bro. Story. And not to apply it or to believe it, but if you could just use your head a little bit and say, wow, you're talking about the African people in the diaspora being this Exodus. Yes. In modern times. Yes. Okay, to their promised land, to their motherland. Yes. Sir. Okay, I get it. So we came together to form an alliance of organizations to assist people with learning more and settling their lives when they come here. Right. So that I would say that if you look at Trump, BLM, Black Panther movie, and COVID, that's the reason why people are more curious. And the last thing I want to say is this: there are class struggles within this repatriation. 100%. There are those who are coming from different classes of the African diaspora.
Yes.
With the different concept of what it means to come back.
Yes.
Some of them are coming back to do business.
Yes.
Die hard.
Yes.
Stab you in the back.
Yes.
Whatever.
Cut short. Yeah. Yes.
And it's a class thing. It's a very serious class thing. You see people from a certain class coming to Africa hooking up with a certain class. And you say, whoa, what is this? Is this how things are manipulated at the top where no one gets to see it?
Right.
And so that a lot of that's happening too. We got our eyes on it.
Right.
So that's what I would say. People are asking a lot of questions. They're more curious, and more people actually are coming back.
Right.
But it's quality over quantity.
Over quantity. Right. No problem. Yes. Give thanks for that, Chief. For that. Anything you want to add, Sister Kenya?
Well, he really sums it up, because I was going to say the first time I got a lot of inquiries on repatriation was after Trump won. I could not believe it. People that typically wouldn't even be interested in Africa were contacting me, asking me and all kinds of things. And then the second wave was Black Panther. What I've noticed is a lot of people are coming expecting something to be here for them, but they have unrealistic expectations. And a lot of them are with the people here, romantic interest that when they come over here is not what they think it is. You know what I'm saying? I've seen a lot of more women. I can't believe how many women are coming for love interest. And then another thing is they think everything is cost pennies. They think that their dollar can a long way, but when you're here, you'll understand. Okay, it can stretch a bit, but it's not really unrealistic. We can't live off a $1 a day. So I think that this wave is Hollywood manipulated and politically, because everyone thought that when Trump got in, the whole war was ending. But now the other party is in. Okay, we can. It's two wings on the same bird.
It's very bad.
That's right. Very quickly, Chief. I want to ask another question, but go ahead.
Yeah, real quickly. I just wanted to say, matter of fact, go ahead.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So it's like, because there's a whole heap of issues there, and y'all have raised a lot, and we could be here till tomorrow discussing this, and maybe we need to reconvene another session, right? But there are. All right, let me ask a very specific question, then we're going to go into some other issues. There are some challenges that Africans have in terms of repatriation, and there are some challenges that those who are anti-African among our people use to dissuade others from traveling to Mama Africa. One of the major ones is citizenship, When you go there, will you get citizenship? All right? From a Pan-African perspective, is citizenship important? Is it required? Should citizenship be a factor in our decision making in terms of if we repatriate and where we repatriate to? And what does citizenship mean? From the passport, from a Pan-African perspective, as far as you all are concerned. Anybody can go first.
That for me.
And no, anybody can go. And by the way, if there are differences of opinion on the panel, that's fine. So don't feel as though we have to all agree because of Pan-Africanists. You know what I'm saying? There is a spectrum, so we give thanks. All right. So anybody can go first. Go ahead.
I think that in the short term, it's not that important, but I think that in the long term, it is important.
Sorry, Chief. Sorry. Let me contextualize the question slightly more in the context of the fact that it's typically Pan-Africanists are not people that legitimize the current borders that we have on the continent as legitimate, if that makes sense, right? So just to throw that context in there as well, and then ask a question: what is the relevance of citizenship or lack thereof as far as repatriation is concerned? Go ahead, Chief.
I understand. So I think that just to be able to move legally and legitimately anywhere, Even if you're going to China, you're going to want to be, legal and legit in your movements. That's why I said for the short term, if you're just coming here and you're going to be just setting up your life, then maybe you don't need it right away. But long term, you might need it because you might want to have a say within the political affairs. You might want to be able to impact. You might want to have some citizenship rights, some civil rights while you're here. So that's all it really amounts to. Who can vote and who can't vote, and who got to pay tax on what, who ain't got to pay tax on what, who can own land and who can't, all our own land. So in Sierra Leone, if you don't have citizenship, then you can't freehold land. You can leasehold for up to 99 years, but you can't freehold land. And I know there's other African countries like that. So we're talking about coming back to Africa that is still a neo-colonial hodgepodge.
Right.
It is what it is. We can't transform it because it's wrong. There's a lot of things we know is wrong that won't transform just because we know it.
Right.
We have to deal with the reality so we can get to the transformation of the thing. And so I would say the same thing with this, man. Same thing with this. I would get the citizenship. If you know that you're going to live in a country, I ain't talking about just visiting the country or just to have it to bluff and say you got it in the West. If you know you're going to be living in Gambia, you and your wife and your children, you should be concerned about how the diaspora is going about getting your citizenship in that country. It's a legitimate political question. It's a legitimate legal issue. You want yourself, your family, and your investments to be protected no matter where you go. And that's very important, man. I don't think that we should come back to Africa and then put high expectations on the people to just give us something that's not even normally expected. It don't make sense. We should just follow protocol and build up.
Give thanks. That's a very important point, because I've seen a lot of people, like, when you go there, they're gonna give you land. I'm like, the majority of the people don't have land like that. Do you know what I'm saying? So why are we gonna, like, in the way, not in the way that you're expecting to get land anyway? Because when they talk about private ownership of land, right? You know what I'm saying? Just so you have to kind of talk to some people and become part of a people group. You might have some access to land, right? And we're gonna come back to that because I got a video to share from Chief Foday and Sister Kenya, and their work in Sierra Leone that might be instructive on that. But I do have a surprise in the back, and it looks like our brother Makonen was able to join us. So let me just bring him through right about now. Greetings, brother Makonen.
Yes, greetings, Chakra. You can hear me?
Yeah, man, you loud and clear, and you look very, very handsome, my brethren. So give thanks. You know what I'm saying? We give thanks. All right. So this is brother Makonen Sankofa. Are you in Gambia right now?
No, I'm back in the UK. I've been in the UK for a couple of weeks now, but then I'm actually heading to Ghana in September.
Okay, all right. Go on through. So we're spreading the love, you know what I'm saying, through across the neocolonial borders. We give thanks. All right. So the question that we're asking at the moment, brother Makonen, you may be able to contribute to this, because I know that this is quite a significant one in Gambia. Yeah. The extent to which Pan-Africanists should create a significance out of citizenship, having official papers of citizenship within a particular state. And I'm saying that in the context of the fact that, generally speaking, as revolutionary Pan-Africanists, we consider the states that currently exist to be illegitimate neocolonial states, right? So is this something that we should be fighting for, and in what context, and so on and so forth? So you hold tight. I'm going to come back to you, but relax yourself and get acclimatized to the panel, and let Baba Buntu and Sister Tierney follow that question.
I agree with Chief Foday. I mean, you have to deal with the situation that exists. I think a lot of us, we live inside of this world where we're thinking about the ideals, or we're thinking about the goals, or we're thinking about what should be. Obviously we know Africa prior to colonialism was not a privatized continent, was not a white controlled continent, did not have the mental enslavement that exists today. So we have to deal with the situation as it is. If you're serious about repatriation, then if I would not let the citizenship issue be the thing that's going to hold you back, particularly if you are of the mindset that the society where you are is heading in such a direction that you will not be able to survive mentally, spiritually, in any type of way. If that's going to be a barrier to you going back home, then, I think you should be able to get over it, understanding that there's nowhere in the world where you're not going to be affected by colonialism. Personally, I would rather deal with it amongst my people, deal with it, in the place where we are from, rather than deal with colonialism, in the belly of the beast. That's just me personally. So I think if you have a strong conviction that you do want to be amongst your people and wage the fight from there. And that's why I think is the emphasis that we're not going home, to live in La La Land. We know that it's not Wakanda, that doesn't exist. We're going back home with the intention of using that battlefront for where we're going to, wage our offenses. That's really what your mindset should be. And so if you understand that, regardless of what you do, if you go back to Africa, if you stay in America, if you stay in Europe, wherever you go, we're going to have to fight this colonial system. Then you'll be willing to do it and understand that you're going to be dealing with situations that should not be. So colonial borders should not be, but doesn't mean that you have to completely reject repatriation for that reason.
All right. Yeah, thanks. Baba Buntu, if you have a contribution on this question, you don't have to have one. It's fine. But go ahead.
No, I think I'll fall in line with what has been mentioned by Chief Foday and Assistant Tierney. I think they have articulated it very well. Thanks.
Reverend Makonen, do you have a contribution on this question?
Yeah, I think kind of, what the sister said earlier, I agree. I don't think it should be something that, holds you back if you've got that desire to repatriate. I mean, a lot of us are repatriating for, different reasons. But in terms of if you're going to be under the continent, I think what's very important, though, is, residency and permit, depending on what you can do. Because if you don't have, if there's an issue with residency, in a lot of African countries, it's very difficult to get residency, particularly Southeast or East African countries. And I think that's an even bigger problem, because a lot of us that are going to the continent and then we're only getting stays for 3 months, or some places like in Tanzania where you've got to go out of the country, go to the border and then come back into the country, or some of our countries where there's issues in getting residency. So I think residency and work permit, but it does go hand in hand a bit with citizenship, because if, for example, you have a residency and a permit, but you can't get access to certain things if you're not a citizen, then I think that is effective. Say, for example, if you have to be a citizen to buy land in this country, if you have to be a citizen to be able to do certain things, like certain work, certain businesses, then I think it does affect the individual. And I think it does need to be something that takes into consideration, in terms of when you weigh up, you have to look at citizenship and look at, what you can do is just, someone, how easy it is to get residency. What you can do is someone who's got a residency and is someone who's got a permit. Yes, we know in the ideal world we are from Africa and we shouldn't have to go through all the hurdles and all the barriers, but the reality is those barriers are there and they're in place. Now that's another something within itself to say, they shouldn't be there, and that's another topic. But I think it depends on that specific country and what you're allowed to do without what you aren't allowed to do without citizenship. But which should determine your decision.
Okay, give thanks, brother Makonen. And I do want to mention the fact that we're not speaking about this issue in a vacuum. Chief Foday and Sister Kenya have been instrumental in creating ways for Africans in Sierra Leone to receive citizenship and residency, and they assist brothers and sisters in doing that. I know that there's a significant battle going on in the political sphere in Gambia, with as headed by our sister Shakina Chinedu and the Diaspora Association. Is that what it's referred to as, Makonen, in Gambia?
Council of African Descendants.
Yes, right. You know what I'm saying? So they're dealing with that issue on in Gambia as well.
Oh no, sorry, Shakina, she's the Diaspora Association. She's another association. They're two separate groups, but I know both of them. I do know Sister Shakina, and she's doing good works in there, and she's heading, for the rights for citizenship.
Yes, right. You know what I'm saying? So this is taking place, yeah, and it's important because we have to appreciate the fact that the repatriation agenda needs to be represented at the government level in some way, shape, or form, right? And so we need to be organizing to represent those issues, and not just going there complaining, but organize and the more and create critical mass around our organization to represent those issues on them levels there. Yeah. All right. So Sister Tierney mentioned this idea of Africa is open for business. I hate that phrase so much. I hate it because it comes along with this Africa Rising narrative that I think is very destructive and entirely neocolonial. At the same time, Africa should be and is open for organization, and it must be, and we need to make it so. And so, in the same way that most panels such as this would say, what opportunities are there for business? And that's not to say that conversation is not a valid one. Yeah, it is a valid one within a particular context. We need to be able to earn a living, right, and develop ways of. But that the context in which the conversation takes place is imperative. Yeah, but for this conversation, I want to focus on what opportunities are there for Pan-African organizing. Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are the, and within that, you can mention some of the challenges, yeah, and also some of the opportunities. All right, we've got this is our motherland. This is ground zero. A significant aspect of the fight needs to take place at ground zero. So in your experiences, in your sojourns, yeah, where are the avenues for organizing the people? Yes. And organizing with the people. And I'm emphasizing that because when I want to go and like say, we are going to Africa to organize the people them as though the people them not organized at all. Yeah. We have to, like, it's the same way everywhere we go. The majority of us are not organizing. Yeah. That's that, and that goes for the diaspora and the continent. That's just the reality of the situation. So, you know, so what are the opportunities? Who's organizing and what can we join? And what work have you been able to do? And I'm going to start here with this one with Baba Buntu.
Thank you so much. I think you mentioned many things that are very important to bring into this conversation. I think for me it starts a lot with your worldview and your attitude and your ability to see what you may unintentionally bring with you as well. I think when you are a revolutionary African based outside of the continent, I think you kind of automatically expect to be seen as that once you arrive on the continent as well, that people see that you are grounded, that you are really for the cause. And that's not because the codes are quite different on how people mobilize and unless you meet particularly, and I think this often happens, unfortunately, through academic spaces that you can maybe kind of you meet alliances based on certain papers that have been written and certain theories that are being developed around, for instance, decoloniality, which has been quite popular lately, things like that. But then we also know, and I think we see that everywhere, that, and especially on the continent, that although there's many good academics and many good writers, they are not necessarily having a strong voice in the communities. And so you also need to kind of find out, where do you fit in? What can you bring? What do you need to learn? And I think for everyone who decides to repatriate, you need to spend ample time studying, put your title away, and allow yourself to also immerse yourself into what may even feel a bit unfamiliar and strange and different. And I think this is it sounds maybe easy when I say this, but if you repatriate at 19 years of age, which a lot of people can't really do, then that is not so difficult because you haven't really lived for so long, so you haven't really established a footprint. But if you now are 35, 40, you have a family, you have some children, you are somebody, and you've started to put out some expectations through who you are and what you represent and who you feel you can kind of find some resonance with. And I think the older you get, it might, depending on personality, of course, because there's a lot of different persons, but I think it might get a little bit more difficult to start from zero when you have worked within a particular way for a long time. So I would say that this is my advice, that you need to, I did that. I spent lots of time listening to elders, traveling to villages, just understanding what would my life have been more like if I actually grew up here from the get-go, and sink into the soul of how people see the world. If you don't do that, you will come with a lot of Western additions that you may even refuse that you have. You might know, I'm a revolutionary, I'm for the cause. Yeah, but where you were shaped still sits within you. And I think that's a sore thing for many revolutionaries to realize, that, you know what, I'm actually bringing a lot of Westernization with me. I'm actually bringing a lot of, I want things to happen quickly, like, guys, come on, let's do this. And then you judge and say that, oh, things take time here because people don't understand urgency. No, it's not necessarily that. It's that there's a code, there's a cultural code of who should be informed first, who must be able to be part of the meeting, who you seek permission to even speak to somebody through. And when you come from a very Western organized world, that seems like just this is a waste of time. We can't be doing this. You must go faster. And as you do that, people might not even criticize you, because especially if you come from places like America and England, you are the big person, so people might just quietly kind of just place you in a certain way, and then they kind of quietly walk away and they say, can't really deal with this person. So, but where are the opportunities to organize? I think you need to, depending on the country and the part of the continent that you are interested in understanding more, you need to understand how politics work there, and they will work quite differently to what you are used to. And I would say that, I learned the most from working with and in the beginning, just listening to, not even saying anything, refusing to be on the speaker panel. I think that's a very important point as well, because people will invite you, especially when you come from a certain place in the world. They're like, we have an international speaker. But if I don't have a lot to contribute, because I don't know what it's like to be landless, particularly here. So I'm not sure if I should be the speaker. So you know what? Let me sit this one out. Let me just give a solidarity message, 2 minutes, and sit down and listen and learn. So I learned a lot from sitting at the feet of activists, deeply politically engaged people, organizations, and the elders. Like, I can't stop talking about how important it is to talk to and download information from elders. Thank you.
Brother, you're muted.
Your mic, Shakara.
Sorry. Yeah, I love that, Baba Buntu. And what I love about your answer most is that you implicitly answered the question as to whether there are actually Africans on the continent organizing, because there are, right? And so it's our duty to find them and learn from them. And I appreciate that zeal in terms of when you hit the ground, you want to hit the ground running and start organizing straight away. And some of it is not arrogant. Some of it is just an awareness of the urgency of the now, right? We understand. We study the global condition of our people, right? And so we really want to go in and preach the good word and organize the masses one time, right? And overturn the neocolonial government, tell the IMF for Gwe, yeah, you know what I'm saying? And start the Pan-African Cooperative Agricultural Program immediately. And maybe it will be a little bit of a slower process, and we have to appreciate that. So give thanks. I'm going to go Chief Foday, Sister Kenya. What are the opportunities, for organization on the continent in general, and specifically as it relates to Mama Salone?
Okay, well, I'll say that the opportunities are vast. When you're coming from the West, there's a lot of social support and social safety nets for the people. And when you come to Africa, you'll notice that they really don't exist. So if you're an organizer and you want to come and make an impact, even if you don't have many resources, the opportunity in the people, really, the grassroots people, they have a lot of different social groups and things that they need those resources with. Even if you have the knowledge and you don't have anything monetarily, the intangible knowledge that you have can make a difference here. Say for instance, we do like cell phone workshops. Like a person can have a cell phone. A cell phone is like a computer here. Many people don't have computers, but you can actually teach them how to utilize their phone in a productive way that will impact them. You can teach them how to do graphics, Word and
right on your phone, yeah,
spreadsheets and things like that, right from their phone, and they really don't know how to use it. And a lot of our mission trips are geared towards people just coming back and providing those skills. Maybe we'll have a person that's expert in their field in America just come and do a workshop for the people. You understand? Like my sister-in-law, she came and did a 2-day self-defense primarily for the women and then for the men. because of course, you know, gender-based violence is a big thing here in Africa, especially here in Sierra Leone. And so being able just to come back and, you know, get some knowledge, give some skills. They're open. Everybody here, they want it. You understand? So I would say that those who are coming back have a vast opportunity to really make a difference. Conflict resolution. You know, but a lot of people here is communal. We can take how they resolve their conflict and add to it, and benefit people like myself in the West. You understand?
Yes, sir. Yes, sis. Chief Foday, I'm gonna come to you. But I wanna play a little snippet of a video that I think might be instructive before I do so. Yeah. And so tune in, kings and queens, and check out this vibration here.
Many roots. Many roots. Many roots.
Hello, greetings, everybody. My name now Chief Foday Ajamu Mansaray. I'm the CEO for the Garvey Redemption Mission in Sierra Leone.
Chief Foday Ajamu Mansaray. Nabai don mo pai do America that crown ko asbai. And my mama's by ne ameni and amaningu. Makone karatari and he by group. So kono and Doure Kapoloko Rabai as Chief Foday Ajamu Mansaray as Urakono no Saluni.
So I know say we don't got time. So I just want to go right into what thing I come here for.
Oh, that's it. Wow, we don't know all them talk to Konemoyam. So Oima ko direct country or Kanako, Oima or back to Torino.
Yes. First of all, the Garvey Redemption Mission, we have a program where they focus by producing more food security.
Company Rangi and by program a party among Kuliane Keremo, Angeta Iru Bumpi, Anget try to get Madure.
So we're able to see that in areas like this, we have land and we have population, but now tools and seeds we need more for increase.
All right. For the sake of time, I'm gonna pause that there. Yeah, but you can see the video titled "Kings and Queens." You can search that on YouTube and you can watch it in its entirety. But I figured that this isn't a good example in terms of answering the question. Chief Foday, just explain what is going on in this video. Where you there? Yeah. And where you going with the people of land.
Yeah, so you know, rest in peace to the brother Al-Mami, our late chairman.
He's passed. Okay.
He passed away last year.
Okay.
But what you see here happening is it's a whole entire village, not a village, but a chiefdom. Everyone is out. The women's societies are there. The elders are there, sitting right behind me. Al-Mami is the brother who was interpreting for me. He is a son of the soil there. And I met this brother in Freetown, myself in Kenya. We have been here organizing Tools and Seeds and Be Clean with Basani for so long. And then we was able to finally connect with some people here that was already organized around reconnecting with Gullah Geechees. And we was like, yo, man, we can work together and put this together. And we came up with this movement, this Gullah Redemption Mission Sierra Leone. And this brother, he first led as our chairman. Now, before, he had worked with a NGO that promised to go do work in his community. And they left him hanging. And the community basically thought he was a jerk. And so the NGO act like they was going to help him do a program, and they did not help him do the program. And the people basically turned against him for that. So he was eager to get back home and redeem himself, because it wasn't him, it was the NGO that betrayed him. And so, you know, we felt real compelled, because typically when Gullah Geechee people do come to Sierra Leone, they are not put into direct contact with the people. They are they're moved around as if they're in the zoo almost. Right. They go to the government, and the certain business people move them around in like tourist fashion. But this brother had been organizing here for over 20 years, and had him and others had a very difficult time to get in contact directly with the Gullah Geechee people from America. And that's what they were organizing here for, before I even stepped foot here. Okay. So in this, we're going up there. This is an executive trip. This is me and other executives from our nonprofit company in his village, presenting our Tools and Seeds program to the community and explaining to them what it is. And we was telling them, because they have hundreds of miles of acres. I mean, they have hundreds of acres of land there, thousands maybe. But, and they have population, there's hundreds of people in the chiefdom, but they don't have the tools and the seeds to bring about food security for themselves. They even have the knowledge. I mean, they have agriculturalists who are experts with planting what they need to plant. Right. And when I went there, there's no machines, there's no lights. You know, there's one well, you know, and people are just suffering. And I'm like, man, we got to help this brother redeem this situation. We went up there, we planted, what was it, 15 acres of ground that's there, some coal. And when we plant, whatever we plant, we leave there. So we gather resources from the diaspora to sponsor one of these Tools and Seeds programs. The Gullah Redemption Mission Sierra Leone and Chief Foday in Kenya, we don't get one grain of rice. That stays there, and we stay behind to help the people manage it, so next year they can go a little harder and expand their food production. Food insecurity is a big problem all over Africa, and it's causing malnutrition, along with poor water and poor hygiene and sanitation. So these are the issues that we focus on, because a lot of issues can be solved by individuals simply volunteering to follow a better protocol of life. And so we work directly with the grassroots. I want to piggyback off of what you had asked as well earlier, in putting that away. Like Baba Buntu was saying, you don't want to come to Africa and hit the ground running. You know, I was fortunate to be able to do that. I'm
laughing because I've seen evidence of the fact that Chief actually did that. I've been to Sierra Leone and seen the evidence. But I'll come back to that. Sorry, go ahead.
So I hit the ground running, man. I was invited by local brothers and sisters who was out here representing Pan-Africanism and organizing, trying to be impactful and challenging and changing policies that impacted their lives for 6 years. So I had a 6-year head start. But when I got here, it was such a soft landing. I had no issue. I was able to live with the family that invited me back for 3 months until I got my own place. And I immediately start doing work. From my first day here, I start reaching out to the youth around me, because I realized I need young people. I don't know how to fetch water. I don't know how to wash these clothes. And I'm not gonna put these clothes into my host wife's hand when I can go out and find a youth. I can give a couple Leones, employ them for the day, you know, and things like that. So I immediately start reaching out. That's who I was in the States anyway. So I was already seeking to reach the young people. And here in Sierra Leone, they have what you call junctions. So the first thing I did was I started building a weight program with the local youth. And then we turned that into a water program, and it never stopped. It continued into Be Clean campaign, Ebola awareness campaigning, responding to the mudslide. So it just kept going and going. And even today, I was visited by 2 of the youth that we've worked with for years, reaching out to the youth and empowering the youth, understanding their situation, not being judgmental, especially when you come from some bad conditions yourself. You know, the compassion goes a far way. So I was able to hit the ground running, and we still running.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that, Chief, for that. And I just want to say that I was one of the things that I'm passionate about is that learning the lay of the land when you go to a country on the continent, anywhere where your African people are. To be honest with you, even if you go to America, don't go there. Like I'll never go anywhere where African people are. And I'm Shakara from the UNIA Alkebu-Lan Repatriates movement. Big boat here. I never do that. But we never do that, especially when we go among Africans on the continent. Yeah. And one of the things that I appreciate about Chief Foday and Mama Kenya is the fact that they're doing work and they are most willing to connect you with the work that they're doing. Yeah. And so I learned a lot just by observing their work even before I traveled to Sierra Leone. And this example that I've just shown you in terms of connecting with indigenous people groups, because that is an organization. Yeah. And so there's a method and a strategy that needs to be employed in terms of connecting with indigenous people groups. And I learned that as well from an elder by the name of Nana Nketiah the Fifth. He's from Ghana. He's a part of the Asante Hene, and he speaks about that, the indigenization of our Pan-African movement in terms of the indigenous social system. Yeah, it's very, very important that we connect with those. I'm going to come to you, Makonen. I'm going to go to Tierney on this question now, and then we're going to open up after Makonen. We're going to open up for some questions from the audience, and then we're going to close. I know you got to leave soon as well, Tierney, right?
Yeah, about 10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Right. So I want to read a snippet from the Revolutionary Repatriation platform. You can read this in full, Kings and Queens, at WeChargeColonialism.com, and it's in the main menu. All right. But it says, deciding it is in our best interest to repatriate, to join once again with our African brothers and sisters, we make this proclamation that we do not repatriate as a passive act of retreat from the white supremacist structure in the West, but instead take the path of repatriation as a political, calculated, and ultimately revolutionary extension of our fight for African liberation. And I think that's just a powerful statement. Many issues that they address in this document, Kings and Queens, that is food for thought for all of us. Yeah, but I'm proceeding your answer to the question with that statement, Tierney, because I think it adds purpose to it, and I believe that this idea of repatriating to escape racism is one that is very popular at the moment. Yeah, and I think it's a flawed idea. All right, and so from your experience, what are the avenues for organization, and how should we be approaching it from a repatriation perspective?
Well, I can't say from my experience because I haven't organized on the continent. I've organized with people, in a diaspora. But I will say that my biggest goal whenever I do repatriate is to really, just like Chief Foday said, the food insecurity issue. I mean, I talk about it so much on our channel because it's such a crisis, not just currently, but for what is being projected. And the ridiculousness of a continent like Africa with so much, wealth and so much arable land and so much potential to feed every single person. And yet because of disorganization, we have a lot of people who are starving now and who are going to starve if we don't do something very quickly and significantly. So that is my personal goal as far as, repatriation. As far as that platform, one thing that, I would emphasize, to me, it's like about your goals. If you are going to Africa for self-enrichment, then yes, you are being a neocolonial puppet. But if you're going for the intentional derailment of the colonial system, for the communal upliftment of African people, then that's going to really determine how you move. So to me, if someone goes with a certain mentality, but let's say they have to buy land to farm, but in their mind, it's like the goal is not for me, the goal is for the people, then you find whatever way you can to basically to attack the structure. The structure that we're dealing with right now is dependency. We're so dependent on the West. I mean, I don't know how many of you knew before, the Ukraine war. I had no clue how much of Ukrainian grains were being imported into Africa, to the point where, particularly in East Africa right now, I mean, the food crisis is very severe right now, to the point where people are starving because, again, we have the potential to farm ourselves. We're so dependent on globalization. And that's one big thing I think that we have to emphasize is breaking the chains of globalization.
Right.
You know, the oppressor has literally put us in a situation where instead of growing our own food, we're looking to countries that don't even have the potential, the same potential as far as farming, as far as building, to feed us. It doesn't make any sense, you know, especially right now. And I think African leaders by now have been on notice of this issue, but they've shown that their hands are tied because of the colonial system. They have to service. You know, they don't want Africa to be dependent because they understand that Massa is going to be upset with them whenever they, you know, try to strive for that type of independence. And we know this because of the past. So many African leaders have talked about the fact that we should stop relying on the global system, that we should start being self-reliant. And what happens to those leaders? You know, assassinations, coups, so many things happen to derail that agenda. So to me, you know, the basic necessities, you know, I'm not even, you know, necessarily on the other necessity, the other things that we have at this point. Like obviously we have gold and magnesium and so many things out of Africa. But the first thing we have to do is feed our people. You know, the first thing we have to do is provide housing for our people. You know, the first thing we have to do is take back the land for our people. And from there, then you go on to more in-depth operations as far as what we're going to do going forward. So that's my personal goal. What I've been studying as far as studying farming is that, you know, I really want to do some type of communal farming when I do go back. And I think that's just such a big issue. Other people could definitely look into.
Definitely, Sister Tierney. I'm going to say that you're being slightly humble. I know that you haven't done a lot of organizing on the continent, but you have done a significant amount of organizing with people who are on the continent, and that stands for something. And just to announce that the Recharge colonialism was a part of the initiation of the African Unity Movement for Decolonization, which recently held an international conference, and had Africans from all across the African diaspora and the continent as well. And part of that process is that they developed a document, the Recharge colonialism, document. No, sorry, what's the document called, Tierney? I got that correct.
We charge colonialism of people of African descent. Yes,
descent, right? Is the document, and it features written testimony of the neocolonial nature of the various different states on the continent and in the diaspora. And so we can learn from that, from reading from our brothers and sisters in Namibia, in Ghana, in the UK, in Jamaica, etc., Wagwan, in various different parts of the African world, and find some signposts in terms of where we need to direct our energies. And I think a major part of this is just us being able to link up anyway and galvanize our efforts. I'm going to come to you, Makonen, but because Tierney's gotta go, I'm going to ask her another question, if I may. Your favorite president, Tierney, Nana Akufo-Addo, has been making some pronouncements about reparations recently. I don't know if you picked up the stream. Just give us your astute analysis on that issue. I don't think you've released a video on this on Recharge colonialism yet, so we're getting this off the things and queens, you know what I'm saying? So we give thanks, you know what I mean?
No, my husband did send me the article though. I mean, Nana Akufo-Addo's like people like Paul Kagame, like people like, you know, so many African leaders know how to talk, you know, bold or say things that are going to arouse the sentiments of Africans, you know. But at the same time, they play into the globalist hands. They're doing things basically to sell out the people. So one big thing right now inside of Ghana, for example, is the selling of the gold reserves that his administration has engaged in. And yet, you know, he's talking about reparations. That's your reparations. You have gold in your soil that you're selling off to foreigners. So, you know, I think that reparations, unfortunately, because of a lot of like I would even say neocolonial movements coming, whether it's in the diaspora or other places, has become an easy way to galvanize support for something without actually doing anything meaningful to actually deconstruct the system. To me, first of all, before you even get to trying to repair something, you have to stop the exploitation that's already existing. Otherwise, you're just going to keep paying back, or you're going to get money that you're just going to pay right back to the colonial system. So I think it's very clear Nana Akufo-Addo is just trying to, again, galvanize the support. I know one thing he's trying to do in Ghana is trying to raise money for a cathedral that, you know, he said, you know, he was gonna do for God, although I don't know where he got that from. So, you know, that could be a way of him trying to get a lot of support back behind him. I don't know. But again, if you're so concerned with preparing the people, you should at least stop the continuous, you know, barbaric raiding of Ghana and other countries like that.
I've been to Ghana. One thing I know that Ghana doesn't need more of, much like Jamaica, is churches. It's not in need of churches. But give facts. So just to add to what you just said, there's also the issue of the fact that the main port in Tema was also sold off to a French billionaire. There's also the issue of this idea that Ghana is going to stop selling its cocoa to Switzerland, I believe it is, and them kind of things there. So that caused a lot of, you know, what's the word, hype around it. But then we realized that one of the major companies that is making chocolate in Ghana is actually not owned by African people. So there's all kind of smoke and mirrors that go on, kings and queens. Because you have to go, sis, I'm going to give you a last word. If there's anything that you want to say before you depart, please feel free to say it now.
Just that we have to understand that wherever you decide to go inside of this African experience, just understanding that we're in a state of emergency. That's really like the big reason why we released that platform, is because it's not passive when you understand where things are going right now. You know, this whole, you know, inflation crisis, and, you know, now they're talking a bunch of different recessions, is going to affect African people worse than anyone else, because again, we are the most, you know, under siege when it comes to colonialism. And so there's no way that you can basically go on vacation from this fight that we're in. There's no way that you can exit gracefully and just enjoy your African experience, you know, like that's the illusion. But understand, you know, the other big thing we wanted to emphasize, but a lot of the people who are talking about living comfortably inside of Africa, you know, you get to, the cost of living so low, it's easy to start a business, things like that. You know, the more people are starving, you're going to be a target. We've already been getting a lot of, you know, reports about people who are becoming targets who are from the diaspora. And whenever you're going, you're not looking to connect with the community, but instead you're trying to basically take advantage of that, of the colonial system, take advantage of that low cost of living, and the fact that some people will work for you for a lot less. You know, you're taking advantage of those things. You're aligning yourself with the colonial system. You now are a target. So don't think that, you know, the more Africa's population is growing, we know that is growing rapidly, the more that the globalists are squeezing Africa, don't think that you're going to stand out because you have black skin and because you pro-black and you love Africa. Don't think that you're going to be spared. And so that was a big thing that we really wanted to do, is warn people. Don't go back home to go on vacation from the struggle. You know, go back home to engage in the struggle. And I believe that most people, when they see you're sincere about the communal upliftment, will recognize you not as an enemy or not as a foreigner, but will recognize you as kin. And so that's really something that we wanted to emphasize.
Thank you, Sister Tierney. No doubt we're going to invite you back to continue this conversation at some point, because it's one that needs to be had, and we haven't even scratched the surface of the conversation. But I know you have to pick up your beautiful African prince, and so love to you and your family, and give thanks for the organizing work that you do on a daily basis. We know you love African people, and no doubt we're going to meet in Ghana at some point. So I look forward to seeing you. All right.
Thank you for everyone for having me. Thank you.
All right, take care. All right, brother Makonen. Just your what's the word? Contribution to this question in terms of organizing among our people on the continent. What's your experience, and what would you suggest are the opportunities there?
Okay, so I think first of all, it depends on the individual country. Now, I'm going to speak on the Gambia and what I've seen in the Gambia, because that's the country that I've got the most experience. For those who don't know, I've been to the Gambia 4 times. I've lived in Gambia twice for a year in total, 6 months on 2 different stints. I've just come back from my last time in 6 months in the Gambia, and I was there in 2019 for 6 months. And then I am the author of the book Life in Gambia, the Smiling Coast of Africa. So I'm just going to give it a plug there. But what I'll say in the Gambia is education. So it's a balance. We need to learn from them, and they also need to learn from us. Now, speaking of what I see though in education, is that the average Gambian doesn't know anything about like history or slavery, even though Gambia is the home of, you know, Kunta Kinte and Roots, you know, so many enslaved Africans were taken to Gambia. If you speak to the average Gambian, they can't tell you anything about slavery. They certainly can't tell you about what happened since, you know, the enslaved Africans left Gambia and went to the Caribbean or you know, went to other parts of the Americas. let alone tell about our journey and, you know, what we've gone through and, you know, us. So they can't see how we are connected to Africa. So it's just like, you know, all of a sudden those enslaved Africans, they just somehow disappeared, and now we're just coming back as kind of these, the way they look at us as rich Europeans or people from Europe. And so there's no kind of seeing how we are connected to them. It goes even beyond other areas as well. So it's not just that, it's just that even if I was to speak to a lot of people in Gambia and I was asked them about other African countries, they couldn't tell me countries in South Africa or East Africa. They can't really tell you a lot outside of, you know, what's in their kind of, you know, radius, their local area, what's in there, certainly within their own like local area or country, but not about a lot that's going on in other parts of Africa. So when we even talk about Pan-Africanism, a lot of the Africans on the continent, for example, they don't even know other countries that are in other parts of Africa. So there's a lot of that needs to be done on education in various different aspects. Now, why I mentioned education, because I'm an author and I do have a platform for authors, and I kind of want to link it into books, and it all fits into education, because what I have seen someone doing in Gambia, which I think is very, very good, is they've set up a Pan-African library. Now, Gambia is not a place where you go to and it's very underdeveloped, and you see like libraries that people can go to, or there's a lot of places that people can, you know, get books and in a physical place and take down books and read, etc. So what I liked is that lady, she's from United States of America, or she was born in the diaspora. She's gone to Gambia, and she recently, I think it was in January, she set up the Pan-African Library. I think that's much needed, because even, for example, the bookstores, not every Gambian can afford to go in a bookstore. It's limited how many bookstores there is, but not every Gambian can afford to go in a bookstore and buy those books. So what she has done by setting up a Pan-African library, which I think is great, is, you know, give those Gambians and people from the diaspora that are in Gambia, but particularly Gambians as well, opportunity, you know, to go into that library and, you know, to take out or to go and learn and read some of those books that they don't necessarily have access to, because in their schools, and this is going to talk about another initiative now, because in the school they don't have, you know, a lot of Pan-African books or books written by Black authors in general. They still got, you know, the books written by white authors in English, not teaching them anything about, you know, the history, culture, or Pan-Africanism, etc. So, or written books by Black authors. And so I think that's great what she's done. And then I know another lady that's got an initiative where she's basically getting people from the diaspora to send them books so that they can put into these schools in the Gambia. And I think that's great as well, because again, these are children that wouldn't have had access to books written by a Makonen Sankofa, written by, you know, our authors. So I think that's another much needed idea, because obviously if the young children, they keep reading books, you know, what written by white authors, and you know what about how great Europe is and all of this kind of stuff, they're not going to be empowered as a people. So I think
very important.
And even when I went to the Gambia, I delivered lectures when I went into schools, and what we did as well, we the lady I was working with Juliet Ryan and Blagson, and we put out there, for example, because there was a particular school that I did lecture in Brushby, and you know what, they were looking for people for computers. So we advertised that, you know what, if anyone's got any computers that can be donated to the school. And then people, one particular lady that donated a lot of computers, but that are now available in that school. So those children that didn't have, you know, those the computers, and they've got some computers that they can learn from. And that this is just some of the practical things that I see people doing on the continent. And I think it can be expanded and it can be done on a bigger level, but I'm just like to use, you know, examples. I've also seen some other people, these people now, they were, I believe, Gambian, but they were in the diaspora and they came back, and they set up a building where now people can go to. There's worktops, there's desktops. If you're into like videography and cameraing, there's like a studio where you can do recording, whether it's YouTube videos or, you know, you just want to do filming, etc. But these are just some of the things that I've seen, you know, what that practical examples of, you know, what people are doing on the ground in the Gambia, and just using some relative examples.
Give thanks for that, brother Makonen. I love your answer, because it centralized this this very important issue of political education. And one of the things that is often said is that it's very difficult to do political education, not just on the continent, but even in the Caribbean, because a lot of the politics is hand to mouth, right? It's food, clothing, and shelter, a more, you know, on a knife edge, so to speak. And what you just suggested is that there are ways to actually even engage in political education.
Can I just add something?
Education in general. Yeah, go ahead, my brother. Very quickly, because I do want to. We need to wrap up soon. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add as well, because as I mentioned earlier, I'm an author, and I've also got a platform called the Black Book Show, and I promote authors. I do interviews with authors, and then also on radio, and then also once a month I've got a virtual book tour that I do with authors. So when I'm going on the continent, I'll be connecting with more authors. When I was in Gambia, I was connecting with authors, and it doesn't have to be necessarily Gambia. It could be authors in the diaspora. I've connected with authors in other parts of the diaspora, like USA, but I might not have connected with had I not been there. But it could be authors in Gambia. When I go to Ghana, I'm looking to connect with authors in Ghana. So that also is being part of bridging the gap, because I'm going to see books that are written by people from the diaspora, raising awareness of them in the African country that I'm in, and also 100%. Authors that are in, say, in Ghana, whatever African country I am, getting them exposure to, you know, what people that are in the diaspora.
Certainly. All right, Kings and Queens, we're going to go forward. If you have a question, I don't think we're going to have time to bring people through to the panel, because Brother Lee is going to come through soon and wrap us up. But I will take a question or two if you have one from the chat. So type your question now. And I have placed the Revolutionary Repatriation platform of Recharge Colonialism in the chat also, so you can click that link if you want to read it. Right. In fact, you know what? We have to wrap up. Yeah. And I'm gonna put it out there now that we need to have a part 2 to this conversation at some point. Yeah. Because there's so many issues that are on my head right about now, and we need to raise like repetition. Frequency is important, right? And so if we're going to inspire our people to repatriate in a manner that is going to lead to our liberation, we need to increase the frequency of these conversations and provide these examples. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a closing word from each of you. Then we're going to bring through Brother Leader to close us out, and then we'll reconvene at another point, Kings and Queens. All right. So apologies to the chat. As you can imagine, it's limited time, and there's a big panel, and I wanted for you to get their organizing work as well. Yeah. Out there, and so that's why we gave that question a lot of time to go through. But yeah. So beginning with Baba Buntu, if you have a last word, my uncle.
Thank you so much. To choose one thing to say, I think I would just like for people where they are and where they are based now to go deeper into the practical question of what they think they can contribute. Garvey says something about that as well, that he said he didn't want every Black person just to move to Africa. There are some that he said he identified that he didn't think maybe would contribute as much. I'm not going to be policing who should not come, but I think it's a question that I'd like for people to first start dwelling on, and not just think without action, but actually reach out. These days, it's easier to find out what's going on in different countries. If you are part of an organization, or you have kind of channeled certain work or skills that you are good at, chances are that you can connect with somebody who knows something about that. And I'd like you to start the work. I think sometimes it's difficult to start because maybe we don't want to really admit that, but there's fears, there's question marks, there's, can I do this? What's going to happen? There's many questions, because it is quite a huge, it can be a huge change for many people, depending on how and where they live already. But start that process. And should it be anything related to the work that we do in South Africa, please reach out to us. Through Shakara, you can get all our contacts. You can look up Baba Buntu. You can look up Ebukosini Solutions. We do a lot of work within the space of education and decolonial and Pan-African learning. So connect with us and find out more. If there's any questions that came up for you, please do get in touch with us. We are more than willing to share and guide and inspire. So power.
Don't worry, bro. Give thanks, Baba Buntu, and I second that. Please, Baba, just observing Baba Buntu's work from afar. There's a lot that he's doing that is a lesson in terms of organizing, not just on the continent, but in general, how to develop new and effective ways and more effective ways of organizing commensurate with the times that we're living in. He's doing some fantastic work, and work on the social level as well, in terms of just organizing men around issues of manhood. Yeah, we can underestimate the extent to which that is a Pan-African need. All right. And so just love to Baba Buntu for the example that he sets. And also just to note that I have a good interview with Baba Buntu that we conducted a few years ago on making Pan-Africanism more practical. And I listen to that at least once a year, Baba. You know what I'm saying? Just to reattune myself. But we did say we're gonna do a part 2 to that conversation, so we need to follow that one up at some point too. You know what I'm saying? But give thanks for your contributions today. Garvey lives, Messiah lives. We appreciate you. You are very much in the whirlwind. What's it called? Right, let's go to Chief Foday and Sister Kenya for any closing words.
Yes, so I would like to close with those serious Pan-Africans out there. Please, when you come home, do the work. Don't get caught up in all the infrastructure and all of that, because Africa is right. Anything that we want to do, we can do here. So connect with the people. I'll say that. In America, our communities are really scattered, but here, you have to learn how to be with the community. So if you're not used to that in the West, you have to really socially condition yourself to be an asset here. Exactly. You have to socialize yourself to be a communal asset. So when you come to Africa, think about that. Think about that. That's the thing I will say.
Yeah. For me, I'll say, man, salute. Thank you, Ambassador Shakara, the Don. Appreciate you, man, for even setting up the platform and just giving our ancestors this veneration, because that's what it is.
Yes, sir.
And making sure our descendants got something to plug into, and see what we was thinking on this day, what we were saying on this day and time. So I would say that I appreciated this discussion, and I want people out there to also appreciate the discussion that centered around organizational practicality of repatriation, not just the ideal of it, not just the ideal of Pan-Africanism, but how can we merge them together in a way that's practical for everyday people. Look at my brother Baba Sankofa here. He's an author. He came back and he's linking with authors, and he sees a sister who's setting up a library, and right away he sees the interconnection. Right away he's like, yo, we could just get a model. Man, this can expand. And that's what Africa needs. It needs the minds of the people that will come and see and respond like that. That's what Pan-Africanism is today. If it's not practical, it's not Pan-Africanism. If it's not sustainable, self-sustainable, it's not successful. And so, in closing, I would say, get involved with an organization, support some programs, because that's what I did for 6 years before I got here. Man, I warmed it up by getting to know people, by helping out. How can I help? Some people volunteer at homeless shelters. Some people volunteer at in so many different capacities in their local community. Don't let that volunteer spirit be what you value less than money. You should value that volunteer spirit more than money. I say that because what I've learned here in Africa is that the majority of the problems in Africa are caused by neocolonialism and imperialism and globalization. But the solution to the majority of these problems can be solved voluntarily. The majority of these problems, we, the African people in Africa, can resolve them voluntarily with knowledge, support, and program, with organization. And so, not even to take it politically, but you can just imagine that a better organized population would be more better off politically. Yes, sir. A better organized population will be better off culturally. Yes, sir. Just to be better organized. And so the last thing I want to say is to repatriates and those who are on the way. For whatever reason, it's us at this time. Personalities don't matter. Competition got to go out the window. Those who are seriously concerned with reaching the hearts and the minds of our people, we might have a small window of opportunity, and you see the COVID and all these other things is making it more and more difficult for Africans to move around.
Believe.
We have technology. We ain't gotta know each other personally to work together. We don't know them white people personally that we go do the 9 to 5 with either. We don't know them personally. You know, they never showed us their degree before they start teaching to us either. You know, we have to reverse the brainwash and get back to a whole new vision for how we gotta do this. And I'll say that repatriation is not just one-sided, us coming back to give something away. And we can't allow Africans to perceive it as that either on the continent. We should be teaching our children over there that, yeah, you got to go back to Africa one day and give back. If you're going to give back to your family and give back locally. But if you're coming to put in the work to liberate the whole continent that all of us have a shared interest in, yes, sir. Yeah, yes, that's the priority. So I would say, you know, get involved with the UNICL, get involved with Pisani. Y'all can check out our website, www.bsani.org. If you want to see more of the work that we're doing here, the heritage work, the citizenships, and things like that, you can check out www.Leone.org. Gullah Leone is spelled GULLAHLEONE.org. And, you know, that's pretty much it, man. Y'all can check us out. We're always open door, ready to build with who's building.
All right, the Gullah Leone link is in the chat, kings and queens, and I can say firsthand, I went to Sierra Leone. I was in Freetown. I also went to Jama and met the people, in the village. You know what I'm saying? And stood on the land, at least some of the land that Basani and Gullah Leone is contributing to developing with a community of people. Yeah, we met the people, them beautiful, them lovely, they're welcoming. You know what I'm saying? And it's such an experience. Papa Garvey traveled the world studying the conditions of African people, getting to know the people, linking at the grassroots, leading labor strikes and all kind of different things. And so we have to follow that good example and get to know our people where they're at. The Africans in the city may have very different experiences from the Africans in the village. And so we have to get to know both, because liberation is for the masses of our people. And so I appreciate Brother Foday and Sister Kenya for creating the vehicle that allowed me to have the experience. And no doubt I'm going to come and experience some more. Bringing you know the empress and the prince and the princess at some point. Yes, we give thanks, I tend that. So yeah, check it out, kings and queens, and the link is in the chat. Brother Makonen, your final words?
Yeah, so man, I would say definitely if you're coming to Africa, prepare yourself. So connect with people, groups, and nowadays it's so easy to connect with people, man. There's you know, there's Facebook, there's YouTube, there's, you know, WhatsApp. It's not like say 20-30 years ago where you literally have to go to Africa or you have to get a contact from somewhere. Nowadays it's very easy to access people that are in these particular countries, and there's so many different groups and organizations that are helping to support people in repatriation. So what you can do, or people that are doing tours there, for example, go and maybe some tours that people are doing. Like I think Foday, you do some tours to Sierra Leone. So these are the kind of examples of things that you can do to check out Africa. Obviously, depending on the country you're going to, you may want to check out the country before you go, or at least go to check out the country before you go to decide to repatriate there, particularly if it's not just you as one person, particularly if you've got children, if you're making a family decision. And I'll say, you know, doing this, connecting with people, we just helped you know, have an easier landing when you get into that particular African country. When you get there, something that Brother Foday said that I love, man, be practical. Yeah, use the skills, you know, that you've learned in the diaspora. A lot of times people, when they want to go to Africa, they've never done farming before, but they want to go and do farming. They've never done this before, but they want to go and experiment and do that in Africa. What did you do in the diaspora? What skills do you have? Use your skills. I'm good at media. I'm good at journalism. I've used those kind of skills on the continent, with things that I've done with working with Blacks, with doing, you know, the author, get with authors and connecting. So you know what, you can use the skills that you've got here and then transfer them into Africa, and you can even use that to set up your business of your own. So that's something that I'm gonna say. And then also what I like for they say is that, yeah, we're not going to Africa to give back. I really hate this mentality of I am not a charity. I am not going to Africa to be a charity. I'm not an investor of Africa. I'm an African coming home, and I'm not going to invest my penny in Africa when I don't have rights, and we can't even get a residency, we can't get citizenship, because we want to talk about we can invest this and do this in Africa. It's very difficult just to get a stay in a lot of African countries. So we need to look at it. And Africa, Does it always necessarily those countries? Do those people need our investment? And are they coming out and saying yes, help us? Because Africa, nowhere is perfect in the world. Yeah, Africa is beautiful the way it is. Yeah, this is why a lot of us are going to repatriate to Africa, because we can have a better life in Africa that we can have in the diaspora. Not everyone's going just to escape racism. You know, I live a better quality of life when I'm in Africa than I do in the West, in the diaspora. So we need to be, you know, looking at Africa as well and seeking, you know, what opportunities we can do. Yes, also contribute, but we should be looking at Africa as, you know what, not we're going to give him back, but we're going to help contribute to the development of Africa. But you know, we shouldn't just be looking at and giving back. When of them, what has Africa done at those leaders or those people in Africa to get to for us? To, we don't owe people in the continent 1 penny. If anything, they owe us more than we owe them. When have they ever sent, you know, and said that, you know, we are going to help, you know, those people that are suffering in the diaspora? When have they already rallied around and called us? Now there's individual certain, you know what, people that I can say, like Haile Selassie invited the people in Shashamani, but generally it's been us in the diaspora that have tried to do much to help those on the continent, whether it's in South Africa, the struggle for apartheid, whether it's various different examples. We're always ones giving help and support. We haven't, when with slavery, when the African leaders, when did they ever say, you know what, yes, people in the diaspora, let's come back. Look at Ghana, for example. We have to go through all of these hoops just to get, they make it sound like, you know, everyone can just go to Ghana and stay in the country and citizenship, but you still have to go through hurdles and all of these kind of things to stay in the country. So we need to look at Africa in a different way and say that, you know what can we get out of Africa, rather than just we're going to go there and, you know, do charity work and because if you do that, you will set yourself up. You find you'll be a victim to people if you just go to Africa with that mentality. You know what, I'm going to give back, and you will set yourself up as a target. And that's something that people need to be very real about that as well, because there's a lot of examples. I know people that go there with the best intentions to help Africa, this, that, and the other. But you have to be very careful as well, because if you go, you know, trusting everyone, and if you go, for example, doing certain things, you will set yourself up for a target, and then you'll be the one that needs help in the end.
All right, Robert Makonen, you ended on some very controversial notes there, now that we don't even have time to really delve into any further. But there's some very important points that need to be fleshed out. And these kinds of things, you know, and but I do agree with you in terms of the charity mindset. The charity mindset is very different from the liberation mindset, and we need to make a distinction between those two things. Yeah, going for the sake of organizing and liberation is different from going for the sake of charity. My brothers and sisters, feel free to stay on. We're gonna introduce our spiritual leader, Brother Leader Badaka, in a second. I want to bring him on, however, with the words of the prophet. Yeah, in More Philosophies and Opinions. Yeah, volume 3, all right, what's it called? Yeah, of More Philosophies and Opinions. There is a chapter on the call to Africa, and this is important because I should have begun with this, but many people call it the Garvey movement, the Back to Africa movement, and in many ways it's a misnomer. But Papa Garvey spoke on this and attempted to address some of the misconceptions, and he says there are many persons who continue in ignorance of the real meaning of the Back to Africa movement. There are many others who wickedly misinterpret and misrepresent the meaning with the idea of frustrating the movement. This also is a betrayal of Black ignorance. The Back to Africa movement is a form of expression which conjures up in the mind of the ignorant and of the wicked a scene of wild haste in the demolition of homes, the breaking up of prosperous business associations, the exasperation of kinship with those not of like minds as ourselves, the mad folly of pilgrimages by land to the seaboard, embarkations for various destined ports by fleet of ships across the trackless ocean to the great continent of Africa, a land of ready-made institutions of the most advanced civilizations with social, civic, and national amenities, providing adequate princely living to each and every immigrant. These are a few of the utopian ideas with which ignorance and wickedness invest the Back to Africa movement. So he's addressing the misconceptions, yeah? And then he goes on to say, the call to Africa, now he's going to correct the misconceptions. He says the call to Africa is still more than an indefinable cry of an oppressed people, more than the interpretation and the inspired utterance of a bold and inspired leader whom the Negro claims. He's saying the call to Africa is more than just Marcus Garvey inspiring the masses to go to Africa. Yes, him say, who spreads discomfiture among the ranks of Negro oppressors. The call to Africa is the voice of the omnipotent. Let my people go, that they might serve me. The call to Africa is the omnipotent in the act of delivering his people from bondage. He goes on to say, we do not contend that the call to Africa, viz. That her son should arise and seek her redemption, is natural and inevitable to Africa, bereft of her children, carried into captivity and enslaved in alien lands, herself overrun by alien peoples, colonialism, partitioned among them, and her sons enslaved, reduced, and degraded in her own soil. 3 long centuries of Negro suffering under the iniquities of the slave trade. 300 years of unparalleled horrors, reaching down to the atrocities of the Belgian Congo, and still intolerable conditions prevailing to this very moment could not but move the heaven of justice to vindicate her cause. And so basically we're seeing that there's work to be done. Yeah, we're doing away with the utopian ideas. When we got to, the call to Africa is a call to duty. It's a call to work. And so right now we're going to bring on the spiritual leader of the Alkebu-Lan Revivalist movement, the High Commissioner General of the UNIA ACL in the UK, who is the man that inspired me with the call to duty and the call to work and the call to Africa, kings and queens. I bring you none other than brother leader Bandaka. Tendai Mwari, brother leader.
Oh, Tendai Mwari. Mwari mukuru kuzai muzimu mukuru. Tendai Mwari.
Tendai Mwari.
Give thanks unto the supreme creator of the universe. Give praises unto our great ancestors. We give thanks and praises, beloved brothers and sisters, for this gathering here this evening, celebrating and honoring the life and the legacy of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey. We are proud and uplifted this time of the year that we can gather in his name, wrapping ourselves in the mantle of the red, the black, and the green, as we honor his name and his mighty legacy, as we gather, brothers and sisters, to remind the world that the indomitable spirit of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey, lives among us today. So we can shout, Garvey live! Garvey live! Garvey live! Garvey live! Garvey live! Garvey live! Mosiah lives! Mosiah lives! Mosiah lives! He live! He live! Beautiful evening. We have been richly blessed this evening, beloved brothers and sisters, from the drum, as we say. From the outset, we have been richly blessed with a very focused and reverent opening that we had from our beloved brother Olatunji Heru, who worked so hard for this movement and for the liberation of our people. The reading of our affirmation, which we have published to facilitate our daily observance of our 31-day celebration and commemoration of the life and legacy of Papa Garvey. And of course, our son, my grandson, young Prince Elijah, leading the utterance of the children's memory verse. Put your race first, like all other races do. And didn't he do it, beloved brothers and sisters?
Yes, sir.
With power. Such power coming from that 11-year-old, just turned 11. We're very proud of him. And as usual, a masterly comparing and facilitation of the main discussion this evening from a very blessed young man, our young king, Brother Shakara. Can we hail him for the mighty work that he has done this evening and continues to do for our people. We say Rumbidzo Kunamwari ye Africa. Rumbidzo Kunamwari ye Africa. To the God of Africa, to the creator, to the supreme being of Africa, be the glory for all blessings, all mercies, great and small, that we were blessed with this evening. To our panelists, our very able panelists, thank you. Tatenda, Medasi Papa, Asante Sana, Oshe. We thank you. We thank you deep from the bottom of our hearts this evening for the vision that you've shared with us, inspiring us, inspiring our understanding and guiding our understanding of this concept of repatriation, sharing your experiences with us. Baba Buntu, I see he's left. He didn't want any graybeard competition this evening, so he's left early. But my beloved
sorry, brother, not to interrupt. I did neglect to say that Baba Buntu did say that he had to depart, and he left a message in the chat. But I want the gathering to know that he did say that out of respect for us and the panelists and the gathering at large. So thank you for reminding me. So go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Tendai Mwari. I know that Baba Buntu, if he's leaving early, he's leaving for good reasons.
Yes, sir.
You know, I've had the blessing of knowing my brother now for just about 20 years or so. And he has always inspired me with his deep commitment and devotion to our people. I have the utmost respect for him. And for the rest of the panelists, our brother Chief Foday, a name I'm familiar with, my brother, our sister Kenya, our sister Tierney, Sister Tierney. Who also had to leave early. I fully understand and appreciate that. And of course, my young brother, young King Ras Makonen, give thanks and praises for your insight and for what you shared with us this evening. Let me just quickly steal a moment, beloved brothers and sisters, just to share a few words with you, hopefully to crown all the wisdom and knowledge and understanding that we've gained this evening. This concept of repatriation is a powerfully important one, and one which we need to understand and to get right in terms of our approach. And I want to humbly suggest to us all this evening, let me just hail all the brothers and sisters who have tuned in to the program this evening, who we were not able to include in the discussion, but hail you anyway. We know you're out there. We know you're tuning in, and give thanks and praises for your presence. But I want to suggest that that repatriation, that this concept of repatriation, one, that repatriation is a process and not an event. It is a process and not an event. It is how we prepare. It is what we do when we get to the motherland and how we do it. It is how we connect when we get to the motherland and how we engage, as Brother Foday has advised us, in sustainable work on the ground with our brothers and sisters on the ground. I want to suggest, secondly, that repatriation as a process begins with the mind and soul. The repatriation of the mind and the repatriation of the soul. It is first a spiritual and cultural repatriation that must take place. Beloved brothers and sisters, it is the reclaiming of our African essence and the evoking of our African essence through embracing our spiritual traditions and our culture, and practicing and giving expression to that, and allowing that to inform the way we organize family, community, the institutions and organizations that we build must be informed by our study and understanding of our spiritual and cultural traditions. So it must be first a spiritual and cultural repatriation. And then, beloved brothers and sisters, that will help us to connect well with our people when we go home, to understand that when we make that physical connection, having started the journey in the mind and in the soul, when we make that physical connection, we are already connected mentally and spiritually with our people on the ground. You know, brothers and sisters, we need to understand that it is possible to return physically to the motherland and yet have not repatriated, because we are not connected. We're not connected with the people. We're not connected with the culture. We don't understand that every opportunity to learn the language is of profound and fundamental importance. When I have been blessed to visit the motherland, I learn as much words. I go to Ghana, I learn to say wohotu say. Or if someone says wohotu say, I learn to say mehuye or mehuye pa, or even etise boko. I feel so good when I'm buying. I'm in the market and I'm buying. I can say eyahi. I don't have to say how much is that. I say eyahi. I learn to say it. And when they give me the price, I learn to say, oh, me patriotism. Oh, please reduce it. Sometimes it works. Oftentimes it works, beloved brothers and sisters. But it feels good. It feels good to be able to go to a taxi, a cab driver, and say, me patro make a crumb. I'm going to town. You see, connecting the language is a central part of our spiritual and cultural expression. And it takes a certain amount of humbling, because when you don't know the language and you go to the home where the language is spoken, you have to humble yourself in order to learn, to invite. When you make the effort, you probably sound like a child babbling. But the good thing is that brothers and sisters are always willing to encourage you and to help and to teach you. So you have to humble yourself in order to make that full connection. Tendai Mwari, I want to suggest, before I deal with the third and final prerequisite for reparations, I want to suggest, beloved brothers and sisters, that we saw the power of spiritual cultural repatriation with our people in Haiti, in the Haitian Revolution. Are you with me, brothers and sisters? Who poured libation, who evoked the spirit of Ogun, who had built Africa where they were. When we are spiritually and culturally repatriated, we build Africa where we are. In other words, we construct our lives according to our knowledge of our spiritual and cultural precepts. This is what our people did in Palmares. They fought against enslavement in order to build Africa where they were. The Coromantes, so-called Maroons in the Caribbean, fought against the enemy, ran to the mountains to build Africa where they were, because they were spiritually and culturally repatriated. I hope brothers and sisters get the message here. We have to re-Africanize ourselves where we are and build Africa. In other words, the African village, the African community, build Africa where we are. And that will help to prepare us better for when we make that ultimate return to the motherland. The third and final prerequisite that I humbly want to submit to us this evening is that repatriation is best and most powerful when undertaken, when pursued as a mass movement. And that's what Papa Garvey, the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Messiah Garvey and the UNIAACL was all about. In fact, we saw the manifestation of these prerequisites in the way the UNIAACL approached the whole concept of liberation. All of it was about repatriation. Look to Africa. Let Africa be your guiding star, your star of destiny. That is the process of spiritual and cultural repatriation. And then there were the ships. In fact, before we had the ships. In fact, just after we started the Black Star Line Steamshipping Corporation, the organization sent delegates to the motherland to pave the way, to connect, to make meaningful connection on the ground, to learn, and to help to prepare. The organization sent 1924, 50,000 pounds worth of agricultural and industrial and technical equipment to Liberia. You are with me, brothers and sisters, because they were coming to do some serious work, but they had to make the connections on the ground. They had to send offerings to demonstrate to our people that we're coming with good intentions, with goodwill. And one of the things that Eli Garcia, one of the delegates from the UNIAACL who was sent to Liberia, reported back to Papa Garvey and to the organization that he did not like the way that the Americo-Liberians, as they were called, were lording it over the indigenous, that term as a separate, as a term that is supposed to separate Africans from the motherland from Africans in the diaspora, is not one I'm entirely comfortable with. But I think those are the terminologies that were used. But we understand what he was saying. And that's very, very important. And it showed what the mindset of the UNIAACL was all about. We're not going there, right, to puff up ourselves and to be arrogant and assume that we know better than our brothers and sisters on the ground and in the motherland. We go there and humble ourselves. And if we have something to offer, and yes, we do, they are intelligent enough to recognize that. Baba Buntu says that he's often invited to speak. I experience that when I go to the motherland. And sometimes humility would not allow him to say more than a solidarity greeting. I understand where the brother is coming from. But they will recognize if you've got something to offer. But we don't go there with arrogance. We don't go there with arrogance. So we give thanks, beloved brothers and sisters. And we must also remember Rastafari. The Rastafari movement has always been chanting repatriation from the outset, from the get-go, right? Repatriation is a must, Rastafari has always said. And in most African countries now, you can see communities of Rastafarians, starting with Ethiopia and Shashamane. Right? You go to Ghana, you see communities of Rastafarians, right? Rastafari has pioneered that process and has demonstrated a lot we can learn about the way they have processed the whole, they have approached the whole process of spiritual, cultural, of repatriation, beginning with the repatriation of the mind and the repatriation of the soul through the spiritual cultural retention, which they call Rastafari, which is an expression of our African faith and our African traditions. Beloved brothers and sisters, giving thanks and praises for lending me your ears for a few minutes this evening. We have been blessed, so profoundly blessed by all that we've heard. May we go forward from here more strengthened in our conviction to fight for, to live every day, and to work unceasingly for the total liberation of our land and people, the glory of Mwari Nyakusika and Muzumumukuru, our creator and our ancestors, and the attainment of a much higher quality of African human existence. May this season of Mosiah continue to empower and enlighten and enrich us culturally, in knowledge and in spirit. I close, as always, in the words of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who says, unite, organize now or perish. Rise, you mighty African people, for you can accomplish whatever you will. Rumbidzo kunamwari Africa, to the God of Africa be the glory. Tendai. Thank you.
Tendai. Give thanks, brother leader. Give thanks. Give thanks. I just want to share a little blessings, kings and queens. I got a message. Last year we had our brother.
Sorry, brother Chakara. Garvey lives. Mosiah lives.
Mosiah lives. All right. Don't worry. Yeah. So last year we were blessed to be joined by our brother Talawa Ado. On Africa Speaks of Alkebu-Lan during Mosiah, and we was looking at the issue of language, as it relates to the liberation fight. Well, I'm blessed to be able to announce that Brother Talawa and his queen, Sister Amma, recently gave birth to an African prince. He just messaged me. He just messaged me. He just messaged me and shared the name with me. I'm not gonna blow it up because I don't know if it's public yet, but he shared it with me personally, and it's a powerful African name. And so we just want to send our brother or sister and our young prince some love. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Brother Olatunji Heru to formally close us out. Tenamwari. Oh, Brother Olatunji. Tenamwari. There we go.
Tendai, give thanks and praises, sisters and brothers, for a powerful Mosiah session this evening. It really, really was. I want to say to tender to panelists once again, to our Baba Buntu, our Chief Foday, Sister Kenya, Sister Tierney, and a young lion, Brother Makonen. Also want to hail up our Brother Shakara for expertly hosting this session this evening, but not only hosting this session, who was so instrumental in putting it together, sisters and brothers. And this is what we do behind the scenes. We put these things together for you, sisters and brothers. And I certainly agree that maybe a part 2 or even a part 3 would be necessary in this session. So I'm just here to say, tune in to Galaxy Radio every Monday, referencing what Chief Foday said to us. The only D-Brain watching station is what Galaxy is known as. So tune in every Monday. Africa Speaks of Alkebu-Lan, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. UK BST GMT. Sisters and brothers, we're continuing the Mother Vibrations on air live, galaxyafiwi.net. Give thanks to Brother Leader for his closing words. If you like what you heard from Brother Leader Bandaka, tune in, sisters and brothers, tomorrow evening, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. right here on YouTube. The Sister Shanice Show, speaking again about the legacy of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and the message will be of particular interest to our young people looking about Garveyism and modern technology. Sisters and brothers, that's Sister Shanice Show, 8 p.m. tomorrow evening GMT. Sisters and brothers, right here on the YouTube. So finally, sisters and brothers, my role is just to say the closing words. So what we do is put our left hand on our hearts and our right hand in the air. We say our closing words. Let us remind ourselves, sisters and brothers, to take from here all that we've learned, all that we've gained in knowledge, information, and inspiration out into the streets, into our personal lives, our places of study, our places of work, amongst our families and friends, wherever we find Africans. Let Africans everywhere know that we need to be a shining light unto Africans everywhere. Let Africans everywhere know that Mwari, Nobukuane, Nkulukulu, Ama, Olodumare, the African God, reigns supreme. Let Africans everywhere know that liberation is indeed
is indeed at
And
hand.
we say, sister and brother, once again, the affirmation and the chant for the Garvey season. Garvey lives!
Garvey lives!
Garvey lives!
Garvey lives!
Garvey lives!
Garvey lives!
Messiah lives!
Messiah lives!
Messiah lives!
Messiah lives!
Messiah lives!
Messiah lives!